So today, we're diving into this incredibly powerful poem by the celebrated Telugu writer Volga. It tackles a really tough subject, farmer suicides, but it does it from an angle we almost never get to see, the perspective of the wife who's left behind. It's a story that goes from just pure grief to this incredible resilience, and it ends up challenging everything we think we know about what strength really is. And this, right here, is the core challenge of the poem. Volga kicks things off by drawing this stark contrast between dying, which can be over in a moment, and the ongoing courage it takes to just live, to ask questions. It takes a truly firm heart not to give up, but to demand why and figure out what happens now. So the poem starts with the husband's choice, and in a society where manhood is often tied to this idea of unbending pride, he sees only one way out that he considers, well, virtuous. He's praised for choosing death over what he sees as the shame of failure, basically escaping a world that threatened his whole identity.
This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The central conflict is right here. His pride, his inability to bend his head, is all about masculine honor. But her reality, it's completely different. She says, I was born with a head bent. For her, submission wasn't some choice she made during a crisis. It was just the built-in condition of her life as a woman in that world.
So, you have to ask, what pushed him to that edge? Well, the pressures were just immense. You've got the humiliation of bowing to creditors, the shame of having to beg for help, the utter despair of watching your crops fail. For him, these weren't just money problems. They were a direct attack on who he was supposed to be, a provider, a man. And so, he made his choice. He took the poison, and for him, the struggle was over. He found his release. But the thing is, his release is exactly where her story, her struggle, truly begins.
Right. His escape doesn't make the burden disappear. It just transfers it, the entire weight of his world, all his debts, his shame, and his children. It all comes crashing down on her. She inherits his problems, yeah, but also the terrible consequences of his final act.
And this is the cruel irony at the very heart of the poem. The exact same thing that gave him his escape is now what's poisoning her life. His solution didn't fix anything. It just moved the suffering from him to her, turning what was already a hard life into a truly bitter one. And here, she asks the one question he clearly never stopped to consider. That abstract idea of a burden suddenly becomes very, very real. The lives and futures of 4 children. She's calling him out directly. How could you possibly think my back could carry a load that you, the so-called stronger one, decided was too heavy? You know, the poem makes it clear this is not her first fight, not by a long shot. She's already survived his abuse, put up with him when he was drunk, and she even talks about escaping death many times. She went through all of it, holding on to this idea that he was a man, a leader. So his suicide, it isn't just abandonment. It's the ultimate betrayal of that whole patriarchal promise she was taught to believe in. But right there, in the middle of all this wreckage, something shifts. The poem and the wife, they pivot. She starts to build a new sense of value, a whole new reason to keep fighting, and she discovers a kind of harvest that he was totally blind to. Wow, what a powerful question. His entire sense of value was tied up in that failed cotton crop. It was just an economic loss. But she completely turns that on its head. She points to her harvest, her children. She's redefining what value even means, shifting it from something you own, like a crop, to a life that you nurture. And this is her definitive answer. Absolutely not. He saw his crop fail and he gave up. She looks at her children, her harvest, and refuses to see them as disposable. They are not some worm-eaten pods to be abandoned to the wind. No way. They are her purpose. And that purpose forges an entirely new kind of strength. This isn't the quiet, passive endurance she had to have before. No, this is active. It's defiant. This is the will to live, not just for herself, but for them. This is the big shift. Right here. She goes from being a victim to being a teacher. Her new mission isn't just about surviving day to day anymore, it's about empowerment. She makes a vow to teach her kids to clench a fist. which is just this universal symbol of resistance and strength against the very forces that broke their father. And she's very clear about what this fight is for. It's not just about begging for scraps or struggling to get by. She's getting them ready for a bigger battle. A battle for dignity, for their place in the world. The same battle her husband ran away from.
And this is her final, incredible declaration. While he embraced death to escape, she makes the choice to embrace life. And this is so important. She embraces the struggle that comes with it. What she shows us is that strength isn't about having an easy life. Real strength is the conscious, courageous choice to face hardship head on. She completely redefines virtue. It's not a proud death. It's a resilient life.